see this, you know it's time for the Weather Channel. The fastest way to get the weather you need when you need it. That's the Weather Channel.
Weather has an effect on us each and every day, whether it be a beautiful, clear morning with sunny skies or a cozy day staying out of the rain. We adapt to the forces of nature daily. The phenomena of cold and warm air interactions can also create some very scary and dangerous conditions such as thunderstorms, tornadoes, and cyclones, all known for their intensity and potential for major destruction. While most people do everything in their power to escape these disastrous conditions, a small subset of people are actually dedicated to gearing up in pursuit of storms despite the potential dangers. Storm chasing is defined as the activity of traveling to locations where a tornado or other severe weather is forecast as a hobby or in order to photograph or study it. It's a practice that is believed to have begun in the 1950s by David Hoadley, which is uncoincidentally around the time tornadoes were able to be predicted. It wasn't until the late 80s with the popularization of mobile devices and advanced radars that it spread like wildfire among adrenaline junkies. While thunderstorms are another desirable phenomenon for storm chasers, others go for tropical cyclones such as hurricanes and typhoons. Due to the conditions they brave, chasers often use things like weatherproofed vehicles equipped with armor plating, shatterproof glass, and waterproofing among advanced monitoring systems. Chasers help us to understand the dynamics that come together to create the perfect storm and how we can recognize patterns in order to predict them. One man in particular is renowned for his storm chasing abilities and contributions to the field. Tim Samaras was a trailblazing storm chaser and researcher. Born November 12, 1957 in Lakewood, Colorado, Tim grew up in a middle-class family watching his father photograph and project for the Army during World War II, which Tim would eventually pick up himself. But he was always a little different from other kids. Instead of playing with toys and running the neighborhood, Tim was really fascinated with taking things apart and putting them back together. Without any form of training, it was as if MacGyvering were his God-given talent. One unsuspecting family dinner night, young Tim's future would be solidified once he watched the tornado scene from The Wizard of Oz and was completely awestruck by the undulating twister wreaking havoc on Dorothy's home in Kansas. Not long after, Tim witnessed his first funnel cloud after a thunderstorm crept over his hometown. He couldn't believe that this wasn't just some work of Hollywood fiction, but a real thing that happened. As Tim grew up, so did his passion for learning everything there is to know about the phenomenon. Thunderstorms form through a process that begins with convection, or warm, moist air near the Earth's surface rising due to its low density compared to cooler air above. As the warm air ascends, it cools and condenses to form tall cumulonimbus clouds that reach high into the atmosphere. This condensation releases heat, which further fuels the upward movement of the air and enhances the development of the storm. Within the developing storm, updrafts and downdrafts create turbulence and can lead to the formation of lightning and thunder. If the storm intensifies, it can produce severe weather conditions such as heavy rain, hail, strong winds, and in some cases, tornadoes. The storm's life cycle can range from a brief, isolated event to a larger, more organized system that can last for several hours. Heavy rain can lead to flash flooding, especially in urban areas with poor drainage, as well as erode soil and damage infrastructure. Lightning strikes associated with thunderstorms can cause fires, power outages, and damage to buildings and electrical systems. Similarly, resulting hail can destroy crops, damage vehicles, and cause injury to people and animals. If a thunderstorm persists severely, it can form something known as a supercell, which can potentially evolve into a tornado. This rising warm air creates strong updrafts within the storm, and this change in wind speed and direction with height can lead to the development of a rotating column of air called a mesocyclone. If conditions are correct, the rotation within the mesocyclone can intensify and extend downward to form a tornado. Tornadoes are often characterized by their funnel shape and can vary greatly in size, intensity, and duration, making them some of the most unpredictable and destructive weather phenomena. They can obliterate buildings, uproot trees, and throw debris over long distances, posing severe risks risks to life and property. The destruction caused by tornadoes often requires substantial recovery efforts and can lead to significant economic losses. Additionally, tornadoes can disrupt communities and local economies, displacing residents and causing long-term challenges in rebuilding. Tim began building radio transmitters at the age of 12 in order to receive information about and report on storms. By 16, he was a bona fide radio technician. Tim was so devoted to his passion and worked so diligently that directly after graduating high school, he was hired at the University of Denver Research Institute just by walking in without a resume or college degree. Despite having no formal training, the boss recognized the natural talent and potential that Tim had just from their brief conversation. He was just that good and wanted to witness something amazing. Quote, "An act of nature that produces the most powerful winds on the planet. It's better than any video game or movie." Later on as an adult, his wife Kathy would playfully describe his passion for storms as an affair with Mother Nature. Cheaters out there, don't get any ideas for a cover story. Before he could even legally drink, Tim was granted a security clearance to work on weapon systems for the Pentagon. With his talent for high-speed photography, he captured videos and images of ballistics and storms, as well as reporting his observations and predictions. Over the years, he worked in various high-level positions at companies like Boeing, National Applied Research Associates, and the National Transportation Safety Board, among others. Eventually, with financial support from the National Geographic Society, Tim founded his own research team dedicated to storm chasing, TWISTEX, or Tactical Weather Instrumented Sampling in Tornadoes Experiment. That is quite the mouthful. During tornado season in the southern plains of the United States, which is typically May through June, Tim and some of his crew were known to journey over 35,000 miles each year across Tornado Alley. In 1998, Tim decided to found an annual event called ChaserCon, in which people from any walk of life could attend so long as they shared a thirst for knowledge about the weather. People from all over the world came to attend. He pioneered weather instruments such as a functional recreation of the Totable Tornado Observatory probe, originally designed by Oklahoma University. He would deploy them into tornadoes in order to gather data directly. This provided an insight on tornadoes that would otherwise be unknown, such as how they behave and how they are structured. Many of Samaras's contributions to the field earned awards and broke records. He even appeared on the show Storm Chasers. This all sounds great, but what about the obvious question? Isn't storm chasing dangerous? Well, yes, but Tim's colleagues thought of him as the safest storm chaser there was. He considered the most dangerous part of the chase not the storm itself, but the hazardous conditions like accidents, flooding, hydroplaning, and lack of sleep along the way. Nonetheless, he practiced deploying his probes relentlessly to ensure readiness, and he was not hesitant to cancel a chase if he believed conditions were unfavorable, even if his team tried to persuade him. Still, the occupational hazards sometimes exceeded those conditions. Although Tim had managed to get the deployable probes functioning, they would require him to not only get close to the tornado, but in front of it in order to complete his mission. And when you're getting so close to these powerful vortices, they're not only just knocking you around, but they're also knocking things into you like dirt, giant hail, and debris. Things that leave just more than a little scratch against the human body. In 2011, Tim took some months off from the front lines of tornadoes to the aftermath, where he dedicated himself to rebuilding homes struck by tragedy. That was until the spring of 2013, when TWISTEX was focusing on lightning research under the Department of Defense using a van full of high-speed cameras capable of capturing 1 million frames per second. This little team consisted of Tim along with his 24-year-old son Paul and 45-year-old TWISTEX meteorologist Carl Young. In Paul's younger years, he and his father did not have a close relationship. As a matter of fact, he didn't have a whole lot of close relationships in general and was described as an introvert who didn't exactly fit in. After graduating high school, he explored different career paths, but none of them really felt right until he tagged along with his dad on a chase. Similarly to Tim, Paul discovered his inherent aptitude for photography and videography, and this allowed their father-son relationship to really flourish. beach. Not only that, but Paul finally felt a sense of camaraderie with the community. Back in 2003, Carl and Tim became tracking partners who ventured out every spring in order to chase their passion together. Over 10 years, they observed more than 125 tornadoes. On May 31st, 2013, the trio had planned to set up their cameras far north of a predictedly large storm. However, as they monitored conditions, it seemed as if there were a good chance of a tornado making an appearance, and they didn't want to miss out on testing the deployable probes. So they left their camera van up in the north and hopped in their chasing sedan, heading south on I-40 towards the graying skies of El Reno, Oklahoma around 6 p.m. The storm would be heading east and they would intercept it to drop the probes, or at least that's what they planned to do. But as they attempted to navigate into position, the aforementioned road conditions really became an issue. They made some incorrect turns along the way, ran into obstacles, and at one point they lost track of where the tornado was, which was really bad considering it had begun to reach speeds of up to 50 to 60 miles per hour. As the winds continued to rapidly increase well over 300 miles per hour and the sky dumped rain all over central Oklahoma, there was absolutely no way Tim, Paul, and Carl could even see it coming through the rain. Just before the tornado hit, Young had noticed that the wind had become eerily calm and that there was no rain around, which made Samaras' remark, "Actually, I think we're in a bad spot." Moments later, Trooper Betsy Randolph of the Oklahoma Highway Patrol heard their desperate cries of, "We're going to die, we're going to die," over her radio as the tornado approached around 6:23 p.m. The tornado and its subvortices were so powerful that their vehicle was hurled through the air like it was nothing. The combination of powerful winds, rough roads, and their vehicle's lack of power made escaping nearly impossible. Police later described the remnants of the van as looking as if they'd gone through a trash compactor. Its wheels and engine had been blown clean off. Inside were the battered remains of Tim Samaras, with Paul and Carl both being found a quarter-mile away in opposite directions. Additionally, it destroyed numerous homes, businesses, and crop fields nearby. Had it swept just 2 miles north, it would have taken out the entire city of El Reno. The way it spun with larger-than-average subvortices made it hard to even recognize as a tornado. The funnels also made an unexpected sharp turn and sped up dramatically, growing from about 1 mile to 2.6 miles wide in just 30 seconds. It was heavily obscured by precipitation, which meant that several other storm chasers also faced severe danger or had close calls. In addition to the 3 TWISTEX members, the tornado claimed 5 other lives, including local resident Richard Charles Henderson, who had followed the storm, and a baby boy. This tragic event marked the first time a storm chaser or meteorologist had been killed by a tornado. All of the victims had been in vehicles. Samaras left behind his wife Kathy, 2 daughters, a son from a previous relationship, brothers Jim and Jack, along with 2 grandchildren. His memorial service was held on June 6, 2013 in Mission Hills Church in Littleton, Colorado. The loss of Samaras, his son, and Young prompted a lot of reframing of storm chasing practices, especially regarding how close chasers get to tornadoes. Following the tragedy, scientists and storm chasers launched a major investigation into what went wrong, examining both the actions of the chasers and the meteorological details. Perhaps unexpectedly, it also caused a large uptick in chasers who have continued reiterations of ChaserCon around North America. The meteorology field has expressed profound sadness over Tim Samaras' death, acknowledging his expertise in engineering, science, writing, and videography. Severe weather experts and colleagues described the day as a great loss to both the community and to the families involved. National Geographic praised Samaras as a courageous and brilliant scientist dedicated to understanding tornadoes and lightning. On Facebook, Samaras' brother shared that Tim had died doing what he loved, chasing tornadoes. The Discovery Channel also honored him and his colleagues with a special called Mile Wide Tornado. Nowadays, drones have changed changed the storm chasing game, meaning that humans no longer have to put themselves in harm's way to collect valuable weather data. In addition, technology has advanced in such a way that helps us to better understand historical weather patterns. Early warning systems are essential for providing timely and accurate information about impending storms, allowing individuals and communities to take proactive measures to protect lives and property. This leads to societal preparedness, educating communities about the risks and equipping them with the knowledge and resources to respond appropriately. This includes having emergency kits, evacuation plans, and shelter options at the ready. But for those of you who absolutely must see a tornado, it's potentially a better idea to participate in a tornado tour group rather than venture out on your own, because something tells me if you get swept up, it won't be to the land of Oz. In fact, in 2022, 4 storm chasers died in car accidents across Wisconsin as people gathered and caused traffic on rural roads to catch glimpses of Mother Nature herself. Can we take a moment to acknowledge how absolutely terrifying it would be to experience a tornado up close and personal? Put yourselves in the shoes of the Reno victims and imagine your car getting swept up in 300-mile-per-hour winds. And what goes up must come down. I especially feel for the victims of those storms who have no interest in being anywhere near them and are just trying to get to safety. Then to have to come back to everything you've ever known being strewn about and ruined, that is just so unfair. I want to thank you so much for taking time out of your day to tune in to today's video, out of the endless options that YouTube has to offer at your fingertips. If you enjoyed, don't forget to hit that like button and maybe even subscribe. If not, hey, that's cool too. Let me know down below in the comments what you'd like to see in future videos, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye!